On the 21st of June, the majority of the patients were discharged. That night, the San Francisco Police Department is flooded with calls of wild animals being seen and heard throughout the city. They investigate one around Fisherman's Wharf and find a metal light pole bent in half, with scratch marks all the way around the top, as if whatever bent it over literally spun around it first. Good evening. It is June 5th, 2020. You're listening to SCP Cafe. I'm your host, Blue Soul, SCP Wiki moderator, chat administrator, author, loving husband, dog petter, clone aficionado, Tottenham Hotspur supporter, Scuttle overlord, and well-wisher on this very special birthday. Today marks what would have been the 27th birthday of Breonna Taylor. Breonna was an EMT living in the town of Louisville, Kentucky, and was killed during an illegal no-knock raid as part of an investigation centered on two people that the police already had in custody. The police did not announce that they were police or what their intentions were when they broke open the door of her apartment. As two plainclothes officers attempted to battering ram the door down, Breonna Taylor's boyfriend yelled multiple times, "Who is it?" and received no answer. Not receiving an answer, he armed himself as a licensed firearm carrier. When two plainclothes officers entered, he fired a shot in self-defense, hitting an officer in the leg. The officers responded with more than 20 rounds of gunfire. Breonna Taylor was shot 8 times. Her fellow EMTs declared her dead at the scene. Breonna Taylor, at the time of her death, was working for the University of Louisville's Health Sciences campus. The University of Louisville is where I spent some of my most formative years. One of the two plainclothes officers that entered the apartment, Miles Cosgrove, is a man that I actually know. He assisted me in taking down information during a point in time where I was held at gunpoint in my car and directed to give the attacker money. It is beyond bizarre. It is really beyond my comprehension at this point, how these things can continue to happen. Today, I wish the family all the peace that they can manage. They should have been celebrating a birthday of a very special woman. But now it's a day of sadness. To Breonna Taylor, I dedicate this episode to you. You mattered, and we love you. There were 6 articles that survived on June 4th. We have 4 SCPs, a tale in a GOI format. We're going to start with SCP-5152, titled I Remember This Dread, Oh So Far From Dead, by Azamo. This piece would probably have done better a while ago. This has the general ideas right of how to write an SCP, It does tend to struggle with tone, and what we have overall isn't terribly exciting at this point in time. It doesn't do much that we haven't already seen done too many times before for it to really have a place in Series 6. Right now, it is holding on. It's at +2, but I would like to see, for one, experienced authors come read SCP-5152 and try and give this person your thoughts. Provide them some feedback on where this could be improved, on what the problem is, because it's at +2, and that's over what looks to be about 24 votes, so that's 12 up and 10 down. That is not a huge sample size, but most of these were from people, myself included, that did not really comment on what they have issues with in the piece. If you have no issues with the piece, then say so. Indicate what you like about it. If you do find yourself wondering if this piece could have been something more, give that feedback. This looks to be a reasonable starting point, but I would like to see more, and I would like to see this become something new. This was a -1. Moving on, we have a tale called My Lonely Child. This appears to be a piece done mostly in first person, where they're following a second person. This is revealed to be sort of a nod to sort of give context to how a very old SCP might think. And in that vein, I can respect the attempt and the effort. But in this, I found that the emotions changed a bit too quickly, and what I was left with was probably not quite the intended reaction that the author was trying to convey. There was a little too much confusion in that formula to be probably what was desired. So at the same time, the piece didn't do anything wrong. I think it, for the most part, the tone in here is good. When you're doing a piece like this, where it is a tale, it's from the first person, tone is approached differently. Now it has to have a consistent internal tone. It's got to be sensible and not very significantly, except when we're doing so to intentionally, when we're intending to do so to evoke something. So this plays by all the rules that it needs to. It's currently at +6, and I think the low rating is largely out of a lack of eyes, because it's +6, and that's 6 upvotes to no downvotes. And this is the situation with Tales. It is really difficult to get Tales seen unless you're banging the drum everywhere. And the author, Red, is in the IRC, and that really is one of the few places where I think you have a good chance at getting votes on a piece, is banging that drum in Site 19. There are more places that you can attempt and, try and get eyes. You won't always get the level of feedback that you would like to out of our SCP is a crapshoot at best. Our new SCP, NU SCP, is a bit better, especially with its focus on new pieces and focusing on the writing. So this is another one that it's probably worth looking at and seeing what you think. I'll admit, today's been a rough day. Last night was a rough night. So it is entirely possible that I'm not giving this a fair shake. I am going to try and come back to it at a later time with fresh eyes and give it a really intense reading and try and give my thoughts on it in the comments of it. For now, I'm no voting it because I don't think what I got was what the author intended, and I don't know whether that's me or the writer. Moving on, now we have a GOI format. This is a Parawatch format titled MKWHITEOUT and How the CIA Tried to Kill Pride. This was written by IP, and Parawatch, when done well, is the most interesting, the most fertile GOI on the wiki. You can do so much in this format, and this article is the best Parawatch format that I've seen. It is so brilliantly executed how it walks this tightrope of believability. And I think that's where Parawatch really has the most opportunity to shine, in that it is meant to be just a little disreputable, but it also, I think, when it shines brightest is when it ties in to real world conspiracy theories. And MK Ultra is a bit more than a conspiracy theory at this point. This was brilliant, touching on highly relevant events, doing it in a way that is believable and has a tremendous internal consistency, and an ending that is very much not what I expected, and really, really touching. This was my most enthusiastic +1 in quite a long time. This piece was absolutely phenomenal. Moving on now, SCP-5628. It is titled OCD. Have you tried unicycle yoga? This is written by my buddy Toomey Tombstone. One of the best guys I've had the pleasure to know. This piece, I will admit, at first I did not understand what we were doing, where we were going, and I really didn't like it. But I know his ability, I knew his writing chops, and I stuck with it. And as it progressed, I was able to follow along. We see this trope a lot of the SCP is originally this, and now it's the other thing. But I haven't seen it done quite this way before. What we have is an interesting illumination into the sometimes conflicting goals of the Foundation and how that can play out in interplay between various people within it. I found this to be really well done once I understood what we were doing in the beginning, and as we start to wrap around back to it, then is when it really clicked. I'm like, okay, I see what we're doing, and I love it. This was really well put together. It's currently at +33 with my +1. Moving on now, SCP-5102, titled Dear Diary by Tanhoney, who has been an absolute writer bot lately, and put out a couple of YouTube videos as well. If you jump into the Cafe Discord, in the Creations channel, you can see he's posted a couple of those. If you don't want to deal with all that, they're also, you can find them on Reddit on our SCP. Dear Diary is making use of the POI Eric, who I like to see. It's an interesting piece because where I thought it was going and where it went weren't quite the same thing, but there was enough overlap that I felt a little let down. It's done well, especially when a piece is intended to get after you emotionally. I think it did a good job there. I don't know if the ending is quite right. It's good. I'm not sure it's the ending. I think there may have been something else that could be done. Now, if you want to ask me, like, what? I don't know. I'm not very good. But that is my feeling on it, just the same. Like, all right, I see what we're doing. We get to the ending. Okay, it's fine. It's good. But I feel like there was a better ending somewhere that could have been put in instead. You ask me what it was? I don't know. I like it just the same. It works just fine. This is currently at plus 42, I'm sorry, with my plus 1 as well. Last but not least here, SCP-5716, titled You Are Not a Robot by Cerastes. This piece is on fire. It is currently at plus 56. This is a really well done piece about AI. I thought we were going to reuse a character from a different piece, and it shares some feelings, some emotions with a piece that I did a deep dive on last year, SCP-4504. This plays much in the same space, and the ending is a gut punch. I was really bummed. It did what it intended to. This piece was crystal clear in its direction. It felt focused the whole way through and was executed on very well. Plus 56 for a CorpseCon entry. That so far I found that the highest praise I can give is that it is not remotely obvious that this was something that was created out of, given 2 pieces, make the rest of it. That can be really problematic, and for a number of really talented writers, they've proven that it is no obstacle for skill. Now that's all I've got. I'm still trying to deal, as a person of color, this has been really tense times, and having just pieced together in the last couple of days that I have shaken the hand of somebody that I consider a murderer is very disturbing. Do me a favor. If you see somebody, a friend, a loved one, making light of the situation, call them out on it. Silence by otherwise well-intended people feels like being complicit in the propagation of a message, and you have the ability, even if you don't know it, to do something about it. People are potential wellsprings for change more than they realize almost every time. And it is really that simple in a number of cases. Just to say, hey man, it's not cool. It's not funny right now. People are dying out there. Treat them with a little bit of respect. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and thank you for your support.